Hi, my name is Rachel Paxton, and today I'm going to show you how to make and can homemade barbecue sauce. In this class, you'll learn how to make and can homemade barbecue sauce. I'll lead you through the process step by step. I'll give you the recipe and canning supply list that you can download and print out for future reference. You'll find those in your course materials, and you'll also gain the confidence you need to try more canning recipes on your own. My name is Rachel Paxton, and I'm a freelance writer and mom of 5 children, ages 28 to 6. This is me and my husband Dave. We've been married for 20 years. These are 3 of our kids. Zachary, Christian, our twins, are almost 11. Trenton's almost 7. And we also have a 28 and a 26-year-old daughter. I've been canning for more than 20 years, and I'm also the owner of the website creativehomemaking.com. For this recipe, you're going to need 20 cups of tomatoes, 2 cups of onions, 5 garlic cloves, a tablespoon of celery seeds, 2 cups of brown sugar, a cup of vinegar, a third of a cup of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of salt, a tablespoon of dry mustard, a teaspoon of ginger, a teaspoon of nutmeg, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a half a cup of Clear Jel. For this recipe, you are not going to want to alter the ingredients too much because you're using a boiling water canner. In a pressure canner, you don't have to worry as much about changing the amounts, for instance, of tomatoes or onions in this recipe. But since you are using a boiling water canner, this recipe has been designed with a certain amount of acid in it so that it is safe to boiling water can. So if you're going to alter this recipe, do not alter the tomatoes or the onions. You can, and don't alter the vinegar or the lemon juice either. You can alter the amount of sugar, and you can alter the amount of spices, but don't alter the other ingredients. You will need a boiling water canner, a canning rack if you're using your own stock pot, a jar lifter, a wide mouth funnel, 3 to 4 pint jars, an immersion blender is optional, and a vegetable chopper is optional. This is what a boiling water canner looks like. If you don't already have one, it's about $32 on Amazon to buy the whole kit. It comes with the canner and the jar lifter and the wide mouth funnel. This is what the canning rack looks like. It comes in your canner. But if you'd like to use your own stock pot for canning, you can, as long as it's tall enough that you can have an inch of water above your jars in the pot. These canning racks are about $10, and you need to have this in the bottom of your pot so that your jars don't sit directly on the bottom of the pot. They can break. You need a jar lifter and a wide mouth funnel. These are nice because they sit in your jar so your jar or your funnel don't tip over when you're putting food in your jars. This is a vegetable chopper. It's optional, but it's really nice for chopping up tomatoes and onions. I use mine all the time for making salsa and a lot of my different sauces, like my sweet and sour sauce. So I use this a lot. It's about $25. There's a link to it in your supply list at Amazon. If you can't afford to get one of these right now, you put it on your Christmas list or your birthday list. It's very handy. It even has the cups measured in the bottom of it, so you don't have to measure your ingredients separately. You want to fill your canner about 3/4 of the way full with water and start heat it to boiling. You also want to sterilize your rings, jars, and lids in the dishwasher. You need 3 to 4 pint jars for this recipe. You can reuse jars and rings in canning, but you cannot reuse lids. You need to use a new lid every time. If you don't have a dishwasher, you can sterilize them in a big pot on the stove with boiling water, but the dishwasher is a lot easier and they can just sit there till you're ready to use them. First, you need to chop your tomatoes, onions, and garlic with either your vegetable chopper or with a knife. Place your tomatoes, onions, and garlic and celery seeds in a large stock pot. You want to simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. You're basically just simmering it until the vegetables are soft enough to run through the food mill. For making a sauce like this, it's really necessary to use a food mill to get rid of the seeds and the peels because you want your sauce to be as smooth as possible. These cost about $40. You can get them on Amazon. This is stainless steel. It will last a long time. I use this all the time also for making applesauce. It has a couple different blades that you can use, like if you want a thick sauce like applesauce, or if you're making a syrup. I use it a lot for syrups too. So these are really handy. If you don't have one and you can't afford one, you can also use a strainer, just a regular strainer. Place your vegetables in the strainer and press them down with the back of a spoon so that the juice will come through, but you don't want any solids to get into your sauce. You just want the liquid. So after you get the tomato sauce out, you want to put it back in the stock pot. And at this point, you're going to stir in the brown sugar, vinegar, lemon juice, salt, and spices. Next, I blended in my Clear Jel with the whisk or the immersion blender. It can get a little lumpy when you put the Clear Jel in. You should be able to get it out with the whisk, but these immersion blenders are really nice. They're about $20. I use this all the time. You can also take your sauce out and put it in a blender to blend it, but the sauce is hot, so it's a lot easier to do it in the pan. These immersion blenders work really well. If you're wondering what Clear Jel is, it's a form of cornstarch. You can't use cornstarch for canning because it doesn't stay stable during the canning process. Clear Jel is a modified version of cornstarch that is safe for canning. It's kind of hard to find this at the store. I found this in bulk at a health food store here locally, but you might have a hard time finding it. You can easily order it from Amazon. That's the best place to get it. There's two different kinds of Clear Jel. One is just called Clear Jel and one's called Ultra Jel. Clear Jel has to be heated in order to thicken like cornstarch. Ultra Jel does not have to be heated. You can use it in cold sauces also, like puddings. So I usually get the Ultra Jel so that I can use it in warm or cold sauces. And in this case, you can use either one because you'll be heating it. So you can add however much Clear Jel you need to your sauce to make it thick. If you don't put any, you don't have to put it in, but if you don't, it will be really thin and you won't be happy with your sauce. The Clear Jel makes it nice and thick, just like the sauce from the store. So after it's thickened to your likeness, put it in the jar with the ladle and your wide mouth funnel, leaving a 1/2 inch headspace. The headspace is the amount of space between the top of the sauce and the top of the jar. This is very important when you're canning. The contents of your jar will heat up during the canning process, and if there's not enough room in the jar for it to expand, your jar can explode. So just make sure to follow your recipe and you won't have any problem. You want to wipe the rims of the jars with a damp paper towel or dish towel, so you'll make sure to get a good seal on your jar. Place your sterilized rings and lids on the jars, just finger tight. They don't need to be super tight. Next, place your jars in the canner. Make sure that there's at least 1 inch of water above the jars. If there's not, you need to put more water in the pan. If the water's not boiling yet, that's okay. Just turn the heat up, and after it starts boiling, you want it to boil for 20 minutes. Next, use a jar lifter to take the jars out. I forgot to mention, when you're processing them, if you live over 1,000 feet in elevation, you're going to need to process for a longer amount of time to get to the correct temperature. So if that's the case, there's an altitude adjustment chart in your course materials. So if you live over 1,000 feet, check that chart to see how long you need to process. But you'll be fine for this recipe. If you're under 1,000 feet in elevation, the 20 minutes will be fine. So after the 20 minutes, you want to take the jars out and put them on a towel on the kitchen counter to cool. Let the jars sit until they seal. You should hear a pinging noise. You can tell if your jar is sealed or not by pressing your finger down in the middle of it, and if the lid goes down and up again, it is not sealed. The lid needs to be flat. If it's not sealed, you can still eat it. Put it in the refrigerator and you can eat it within a week or two. If it is sealed, you can store it in a dark, cool place for 1 to 2 years. I was really excited to find this barbecue sauce recipe. You can adjust the sugar in it a little bit, and I actually added a little bit of molasses to mine. You can add a tablespoon or 2 of molasses to it if you like. It's really good. It was really thick, and I think it's just as good as from the store, so I was really excited to try this. I'm going to make a bunch more of it this summer when I get my tomatoes growing in my garden. It'll also be a great Christmas present this next Christmas. So I hope you like it too, and hope you give it a try, and I hope to see you again soon.